Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to go over Adam Calhoun and Struggle Jennings Climbing Mountains, featuring Caitlin Curtis. All right, let's check it out. Let's get into it.
Will you climb the highest mountain? Will you fight for those who can't? Will you fold and walk away? Or will you stay and take a stand? Don't be silenced by the lights where you can choose to understand. Oh, we've come too far to see us Cumberland.
They want us lost and scarred. Hate the cops break the law, and the news tries to say what's right and wrong. If you believe that, it's safe to say you probably gone. And I don't wear a mask, why don't you make me put one on? These days, morals and values take a back seat. Underage girls getting paid to shake their ass cheeks. If that was my daughter, you bet she get her ass beaten. I was born tough, so I don't need this vaccine. They try to make us feel like we stand alone. Why you think we keep guns and ammo on standby in our home? Common sense ain't so common. Go on social media, read the comments. I'ma vomit with this nonsense.
They have him on Vice. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's funny. You listen to what the concerns are of these singers and or rappers, whichever you want to call them, and their concerns are all pretty much the same on a number of them along this genre, if you will, and very accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And and they portray the old-fashioned values, of society, the world
Right.
at one point, and then it got down. I don't know where those values are standing anymore. I mean, I was raised pretty much with them, but they know that it's a problem, and they talk about freedom and society. They push
Right.
freedom, and they're talking about freedom, but freedom for what? And they're like, they want to run like freedom without restraint. These guys know that you need restraint.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking that you need to abide by the law, and that's a problem when you have a government that's running lawless, and the people who are saying no, you've got to abide by the law. We've all got to abide by the law, and
Right.
and the lawless ones are in control, and from the Ten Commandments right through the U.S. Constitution, a lot of our foundational laws in this country that our government's completely in revolt against. I heard it said by somebody I have a lot of regard for, is that our government's been spending a lot of time passing laws to protect them from us.
Right.
And
Right.
that's really where we're at. And you just hear it with the January 6th thing with those people that just had it, a bunch of them. And being held in jail, 35
Mm-hmm.
of them for over 2 years. And it's funny, I just heard a gal talking about that, they don't even have fingernail clippers to clip your nails. I'll tell you, with my situation, when I ran up against them in Bunkerville, and all that happened, is I remember my wife goes, they don't even get fingernail clippers. I said, honey, I remember having to cut my nails on the grout line in the masonry and the walls, and using that to drag my fingernails across to cut them because I didn't have anything to cut them with.
Right.
And it's we're in a terrible spot. And these guys feel it and they know it,
Yeah.
and they can see it. And the only way you don't see it is if you're so morally blinded, and or you just don't care. It just doesn't matter to
Right.
you. Otherwise you see it. And I think a lot of America sees it, and I think a lot of America feels it. And but whether they find their voices and unify and push it back, because
Yeah.
we don't need to just push it back a little. We need to push it back a lot.
Yeah, and I think we will when well, I know a lot of people aren't pushing back or finding their voices because their job will eliminate them if they do. Like,
Well, there's plenty of other people hiring out there. You lose your job over speaking out, give me a call. I'll give you a job.
right? There you go. There you go. You guys heard it here.
I know a lot of people will hire you. Yes, sir.
All right, there we go.
The highest mountain, will you fight for those who can't? Will you fold and walk away, or will you stay and take a stand? Don't be silenced by the lights when you can choose to understand. Oh, we've come too far to see us crumbling.
I don't do good with being told that I have to do anything but really think what has really happened to morals and the standards we were taught about. I ought to shout from the highest mountain what I thought about everything that's going on. Children being preyed upon, a righteous path I'm staying on. Reading what they say in songs, I sang a song. God, we need you now has that political. Things we show our kids right now is oh so critical. It's pitiful, pinning us against each other. Guess that is their pinnacle. Tip of the iceberg, sinking ships with their ridicule. Ridiculous, they're infamous for stripping us of innocence, but making innocent victims depend on
Will you
stimulus.
climb the highest mountain? Will you fight for those who can't? Will you fold and walk away, or will you stay and take a stand? Don't be silenced by the lights when you can choose to understand. Oh, we've come too far to see us crumbling.
Interesting is they're talking about crumbling. They're standing on that dilapidated building
Mhm.
that's collapsed, and it's a really precarious place we find ourselves in as citizens if we're paying any attention at all to what's going on, because there are a multitude of attacks. I like to play chess, and I have like 5 attacks going on the chessboard at once while I'm playing. I don't just do one. Typically, I have a number of them, and you have feints, where you're trying to distract the other player to think that's where you're really going, but you're going somewhere else. And that's exactly we're being outplayed as American citizens. And as soon as people start paying attention, then they want to attack the economy, because then all of a sudden everybody's worried about paying their bills, not getting kicked out, having their home foreclosed, their car, truck repossessed, because now the government, right, through their controls, through the Federal Reserve, have screwed the economy over and throws us into a recession, which is what they're pushing for right now, actually.
Right.
And because they don't want us having too much money. If we have too much money, that equals freedom in America. And with that freedom comes power. And they're really afraid of that power, the people having power. And,
Right.
and so, then they can slip in all their LGBTQ stuff, whatever it is, their socialist, communist teaching. And I would argue about, fascism, because they try to make Trump and anybody supporting him out to be like a fascist. I would disagree with that. I would think actually the liberals, I'm talking the true socialist liberals, are more fascist
Oh, by law.
than any conservative
there's
that
never
I
been
know.
a single conservative fascist country in the history of the world.
Yeah,
Ever.
yeah. But what do? They say, "Oh, you're fascist." Well, what's a conserve? You try to conserve, right? Liberal, you try you're more generous with things, if you will. You spend more,
progress.
whatever, right?
And
Yeah,
in like conserve always means to regress. So if you're regressing the power of the government, if you are conserving how much money you have and you give to them, you can't have a poor fascist government. You can only have a rich fascist government, and socialism will always make the government more powerful with more money. You can't have conservationism and fascism in the same sentence. It's impossible.
that's right. I think we're what they're trying to prep us for right now is a real financial hit nationwide. I think that's why they're raising interest rates. They just raised them 1/4 of a point again last week, and they keep pushing up the interest rates. And who's that hurt? Does that hurt the extremely wealthy? No. Does that hurt the banks? No, the banks are making more money, and because
Right.
now they're getting better interest rates on it. And who's that hurt is that hurts the little guys, if you will, little guys and gals.
Yeah.
Is if they're trying to get a mortgage or a business loan, now they can't get it, or it's harder to get, or costs them more money. And
Yeah.
if
Your
they're
risk for bankruptcy is a lot higher if you're pulling loans
sure it
right
is.
now.
Yeah, and but that's their idea of one way to have control over us, and it's a very effective way to do that. You know, if you have a destitute people, you know, then they're more apt to accept when the government's going to throw them a bone. And I mean,
Right.
that's what Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR, did in the 30s, is took over when really it was bad lending by the banks and just corruption as collapsed our economy, and it came around the world. And then what happened? He started up socialist programs. That's where Social Security came from, all of that. And what's Social Security? Nothing but a tax that, in fact, that the government takes and they collect it up ahead before they paid any out, really. And
Right.
and they put it into the general fund. And now they had to raise taxes more and more to start paying for what they had already spent that they were supposed to save for Social Security, because there's no lockbox, as Al Gore or Clinton said, and it's never ending. It's I heard about some people who had stole money and embezzled money out of companies, and not a one of them that I know of went out and embezzled a whole bunch right away. They did a little bit, then they need a little bit more, then more and more and more to cover, because their spending didn't stop. It increased actually the more they embezzled, right? So then they needed to embezzle more. And that's exactly what our government's doing. And they, in fact, really are embezzling money from the American people. They're lying about what they're doing with the money. And they'll take it by force. So now you're into extortion, and I understand. I'm not saying that the government doesn't need money to be able to pay for some things, but constitutionally based, yeah, sure, go ahead. And but they're into way too many things, and they need to be limited. We need a limited form of government, which is what we're promised in the Constitution. And these guys are onto it. They're certainly onto it, because they know that if they can break us morally and break down the family structure, well, there's no unity at that point.
Right.
They've just created more small groups that they can control by making them a victim of some other group.
Right.
And most of us, I mean, when I started out, we were too busy working to worry about being a victim, trying to get ahead. Never thought of myself as a victim. When I was in the Marine Corps, there wasn't any of us. I mean, we used to every now and again take our paycheck and figure out how much we were making an hour, and then we'd all laugh, because it was illegal pay if you were doing it by labor laws, because we were pretty poor. And but we never felt victimized. I mean, we just knew we had a job to do, and we were going to do it. And we spent less time worrying about our own condition than we did about what it was we were supposed to accomplish.
Yep. All right, guys. If you guys like this, comment down below, like and subscribe, and see you guys on the next one.
Semper Fi.